Okay. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. In South Philadelphia, where W.E.B. Du Bois attended as a Philadelphia Negro in the 1890s. And I'd like to also welcome you all on behalf of all the members of the Saturday in Black Liberation. And Karen asked me if all the members of the free school could like raise their hands. And so actually today we have two free schools meeting. Yeah.
Celebrating this idea that we have spent 100 years focusing in on something specific to talk about and enrich the community of about Black history, and we want to make sure that we continue. So I want to invite all the Asala Freedom School members, if you could stand for me, please, and acknowledge that you are here, because we are so excited. Thank you for your commitment to coming out every week for the last 10 weeks. And you should know, and you all are invited, that we will be having a closing ceremony on Saturday. Make sure I say that right, September the 24th. It will be at 9 o'clock at Mother Bethel. So come out and make sure you come support us. We'll have vendors there. We'll have a great celebration, but we want to celebrate these folks who have done the work. But it's not over. I tell everybody, this program isn't just about getting information, right? It's not. Who knows what it's really about? Anybody? Get the information and do what? It's about sharing it. It's about taking the information and then utilizing it to bring someone else to be aware of the things that we have, and so that the knowledge is shared amongst everybody, which is our organization's mission, to share this information globally and locally in our community. Okay, so we have no further things to do. I'm so excited to get jumped in, and I'm excited. I've never been here before. So I'm ready to hear about W.B. Du Bois and his journey, and how this church was instrumental to this process. Okay, again, thank you all for coming. I want all the members to know, if you need to sign in, please make sure you see me during a break. And there will be a book to come in. All the other guests, we're going to capture your name, your contact information, because we would like to share upcoming events and things that are done, so that you guys are familiar with what we're doing in Asala as well as the free schools. Okay? All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, Reverend Cavanis is not here, because I wanted, as a lifelong member of the city of Philadelphia, North Philadelphia in particular, to, on my behalf and others who don't yet know her, to welcome her to the city and say how fortunate you all are at Mother Bethel to have her, and how fortunate we are that you all share her with us.
She will be here. She will be joining us.
Yes, but to be very straightforward about it, she has brought light to this city that was not there. She really has. And I just want to congratulate Mother Bethel for bringing this young woman forward. Today, the title is Black Gods of the Poor and the Great Migration to the North, particularly to Philadelphia. Already, it might be a little unsettling to talk about gods and Black gods and not talk about God without a racial identity. And I hope that what I'm going to say will make clear what I'm talking about. But what I'm going to say and try to make clear is something so beautiful and so beloved, and yet unrecognized and unappreciated. A movement that, in my mind, is one of the great revolutionary movements of Black people, that grew out of a migration from the South, in particular, after the defeat of Reconstruction and the rise of lynchings and the throwing of Black people back into a situation that was not that different from enslavement. Between 1890 and 1930, approximately, and again, who was counting anyway, 2 million Black people came from the South to the manufacturing and industrial North and to cities like Philadelphia. This movement of Black people gave birth to a new ideological and theological movement, which I'm going to say is revolutionary, and without which there could not have been what we call the civil rights movement, what we call the Third American Revolution, what Martin Luther King and James Lawson and Diane Nash called the Black Freedom Movement. In other words, without the movement that really took shape in the 1930s, we could not have had the freedom movement in the form that it took, meaning that it took on a revolutionary essence. After the defeat of Reconstruction, and it's seldom spoken about, that Black people were for a short moment in history free and were struggling to consolidate that freedom as a new system of government and a new system by which human beings related to each other. That was the period 1865 to 1877. W.E.B. Du Bois writes about it in what is the classic work of modernity, of the modern epoch, Black Reconstruction in America. If you really want to understand who we are as Black folk, you have to understand the defeat of Reconstruction and the fact that Black people never accepted it and have not accepted it up to this day. But for those who came north, and I'm going to focus more on Philadelphia, because this was a major site in the Great Migration. And what Black folk did here is representative of something that was happening more generally across the country, but I think more significantly here in Philadelphia. Just a small thing. And this might not seem so apparent, but I believe that to understand Black folk as we are as a modern people today, you have to understand the defeat of Reconstruction and the fact that we never accepted it in spite of the fact that the nation continues to say, white folk continue to say that get over it.
Right.
You should feel happy just to be in this country.
Right.
We have never felt happy just to be in this country, given the fact that the people saying it contributed hardly anything to making it, and we contributed everything to make this country and continue to do so. The memory of lynching and terror is in each of our minds. We have not forgotten it. And in spite of everything, our children have not forgotten it. Perhaps nothing expressed this brutal situation more than the Supreme Court decision of 1896, Plessy versus Ferguson, where Homer A. Plessy, a very light-skinned Black man living in Louisiana, who could pass for white, was told that he had to sit on the back of the bus, on the back of the trolleys in Louisiana. And he said, by denying him the right to be white, you were denying him property. Thus, the legal doctrine, whiteness as property. And therefore, whiteness as something that everybody who could be white aspired to. Whiteness then becomes a defining social, political, ideological category. And it was not just a matter of physical whiteness, it was a matter of political, ideological, cultural whiteness. So while from 1890 to 1930, 2 million or more African Americans came from the South, in this same period, 20 million soon to be white people came to this country from Eastern and Southern and Central Europe. And thus, the Polish, Slovaks, Italians, and others who were not white in Europe become white in the United States. Abandon any memory or sense of what they were before they became white. But this grows out of the Plessy decision, where whiteness as an identity guaranteed opportunity, and blackness as an identity was the opposite. But not just the opposite, but the objects of terror, brutality, denial. Well, you know, by the way, which makes what we have achieved all the more spectacular and special. And I often say, and no people in this country have done as much to try to remake this country into something that the, quote, founders never intended than black folk. No group of people have so fought for the rights of man and woman, no matter where they are, as have black people. Let me just continue. The Great Migration to Philadelphia was a great migration in many ways to North Philadelphia. They came from towns like Greenwood, South Carolina, with a fighting spirit. Many of them had come here because they had to flee these towns because they stood up to the white man. In a new complex ecosystem where the factory, the church, and the neighborhood were like a single complex social organization. The deacon in the church could be the shop steward in the factory. He could also, or she could also be the head of the Girl Scouts or the Boy Scouts. So the churches took on the spirit of resistance and revolution. And this will be very important in our understanding of gods and not just God. But let me just go right to the point. I think if we look below the surface, it is clear that black and white people are not praying to the same God. The gods of white people are not the gods of black people. And they shouldn't be. The gods of white people are the gods of the establishment. The gods of white supremacy. The gods of waving the flag, the gods of the Ku Klux Klan, the gods of black people have always been the gods of freedom and beauty and hope. But these people coming from these humble beginnings, many of whom could not read or write, but had a high level of consciousness. And they came to North Philly in particular and set up different churches. Now, I think we should be very clear about this. The churches of pre-emancipation were the churches of the free Negroes. They had institutionalized a certain theology, which didn't boldly challenge the general Christian theology. It did, but it didn't do it boldly. Those were the churches that fought for freedom, that set up the Underground Railroad, out of which came abolitionists like Richard Allen, like Absalom Jones. And so Mother Bethel and St. Thomas's African Episcopal Church and Zor African Methodist Church and others were locations on the Underground Railroad and in the struggle for freedom. Mm-hmm. But after emancipation and the realization that we were not free, although we were not slaves, how do we conceptualize the freedom movement out of these conditions? These people coming again from small towns, Bessemer, Alabama, Birmingham, Montgomery, as I said, Greenwood, South Carolina, Rocky Mount, North Carolina. They came and they said the old religion is not enough. They therefore entered upon a revolutionary reconceptualization of the world. And they answered two questions. Who is God and who is man? Had to be answered. But more than that, who is God and who is black men and women? Without answering that question, black folk did not have the spiritual and ideological basis to fight. If we accepted the white man's definition of God and man, we would have been already defeated. In so asking these questions, these people had entered upon a revolutionary struggle and an unavoidable clash with the white supremacist social system. Most black people did not have the boldness at that time to embrace them. I know for many people who, like myself, was brought up in the Baptist church, we thought, for example, that Prophet Cherry, whom I'm going to talk about, was very odd and strange, and they were baptizing in the water plug. around 22nd and Ridge because their church was too small to have a pool. But I want to get to this. But these very questions and their institutionalization in religious institutions, and I want us not to think of religion in this conservative life after death and things will get better then thing. They understood what Martin Luther King called the first fierce urgency of now. We could not wait. So they leaped to the vanguard. And contrary to popular kind of concepts of what a revolutionary is, to be a revolutionary, you got to pick up the gun. To be a revolutionary, you have to model yourself on Mao Zedong or the Cuban Revolution. But these people said, to be a revolutionary, you have to ask first questions and solve them first. And if you don't get those first questions right, your path to revolutionary change will be compromised. You'll see how I'm going to do. I know I'm talking a little long. These people coming out of the South, again between 1890 and 1930, are a critical part of the intellectual history of Black people, the intellectual history of Black religion and the Black church, and central to our understanding of the history of consciousness of Black people. And sadly, when we speak these days of Black religion and Black faith, we sadly don't speak about all of this as part of the history of consciousness and the intellectual history of Black people. Let me just say something. You know, most university professors who claim to deal with these matters deal with them solely from the standpoint of what is written. Well, these were people who couldn't write or read very much. These were people who had to struggle day to day to make a living, to find a place to live, and to set up institutions. So if you want to understand the intellectual history of Black people, don't look for a book. You have to rely heavily upon memory, upon narrative that preceded a Black person getting a job at a university. That's late in the day. The intellectual history of Black people was already being written. For me, the 1930s is the critical period. Among other things, Howard and Sue Bailey Thurman went to India and met with Gandhi, the leader of the Indian independence movement, in 1935. And Gandhi said to them, and it was a prophetic statement, "My message will be known to the world through your people's struggle." Not through the struggle of the Indian people, but through the Black struggle. And it's so interesting, this Asiatic predisposition, because that reappears in so many other thinkers. For example, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad will proclaim that Black men and women are Asiatic Black people. You know what I'm saying? Which is a total subversion of the white man's definition. You know, it's very interesting that the Nation of Islam claims that the origin of civilization is in the Indus Valley in India. Du Bois will make a similar claim in a novel he wrote called Dark Princess. But however you put it, each is acknowledging an Asiatic civilizational foundation of the Black man and woman in America. Now, we're talking about prophecy. We're not talking about history as written down by historians. Because the question they had to ask and answer is, who is man? And who is black, who are black men, and who are white men? They would have to answer the question, what is heaven? And what is the end of life? What is death? Where is the New Jerusalem? They took on all of these questions. Where so many of us had become comfortable in our faith, in our churches, in the ways that we prayed. These revolutionaries asked a whole set of other questions. And the question of who is man and who is God are intimately connected and cannot be separated. If man and black men and women are divine, then who is the white man? That question is still out there. Prophet Frank Cherry, coming out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, proclaimed early on that the white man is the devil and hated by God. He didn't just stop at the devil, hated by God. And he proclaimed himself to be a Jew. And the established Jewish community said, but we don't recognize you. And he said, but I don't recognize you all. So we even on that one. And he said, by the way, I'm not a Jew, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. You see what I'm saying? That is how deep and profound this was. Because then if black men and women are divine, then what are their oppressors? Right. And what is their history? Not just who they are as they define themselves, but who they really are and what is their history. To which Elijah Muhammad said, they were the product of an evil scientist and are thus a mutation of humanity. This is very deep when you think about it. And to say all of this looking the white man straight in the eye, not, well, I can't say it out loud. No, they said it out loud. The white man is the devil. Now, just as a sociologist, I say that's still a testable hypothesis. It's not, I'm not convinced either way. But from a sociological point, it is a testable hypothesis. And certainly, if you look at the world from the standpoint of black folk and our struggle for freedom, Elijah Muhammad, who knew of the lynching of his father, you understand? He had every right to ask the question, what is the nature of the human beings that did this? The great when I talk about Emmett Till, I get very emotional. The great Mamie Till Mobley, Emmett Till's mother, a great revolutionary, when she said, I want an open casket because I want the world to see what they did to my son. 60 years later, they did something similar to Natasha McKenna, a young woman in jail for nothing, was tased to death in Virginia. We'll have to return to that, and there's a video which I highly recommend everybody look at. Black people legitimately ask the question. We have not wholesale murdered or lynched white people. We have not oppressed or enslaved them. So where does all this hatred of Black people come from? And what is the nature of a people who collectively, generation after generation, perpetrate this on a people who have brought more life, more beauty, more truth to this country than all the white people since its beginning? We have. And what explains this hatred? What people, what type of people are capable of unprovoked hatred as white people? I just want to talk about 5 movements that set the stage for the civil rights movement. And if we are to go forward, in many ways, we must return to the philosophy and theologies of these movements. Let me just make it a little bit clearer. I grew up as a Baptist. However, upon reflection, and I grew up in Zion Baptist Church, and my pastor was an advocate of the social gospel. He came out of Adam Clayton Powell's church in New York, that we have to do something about the here and now. We didn't know the Bible that well, and I still don't. And in Sunday school, we talked more about the civil rights movement, and he would preach about this. But upon reflection, there was a deeper level of interrogation going on at Prophet Cherry's church than at my church. Because these that I will talk about were uncompromising in their theology and ideology. And they asked questions that we did not ask in the Baptist and Methodist church. And I'll say it again. Who is God and who is man? And is the white man the devil? The 5 that I'd like to talk about is Father Divine and the International Peace Mission, Daddy Grace and the United House of Prayer for All People, Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple, Prophet Frank Cherry, whose name I can't say enough, and finally, Elijah Muhammad, and the Nation of Islam. They all appear in Black life approximately at the same time. Their founders were born approximately at the same time, after the defeat of Reconstruction. Except for Daddy Grace, who came from the Cape Verde Islands, by the way, where my father is from. That's why I got this name. They all came from the South. They all experienced brutality and lynchings. Father Divine, not only would he ask the question, who is God, but he would proclaim he was God. You know what I'm saying? Which raises another eschatological and theological question. Father Divine, are you saying that God is Black? To which he answered, yes, I am. Now, this is in 1930. You know, when Black people walk down the street, like in a town like Greenwood, South Carolina, you better not look a white man in the eye. And you better get off the pavement and walk in the street when a white person walks by. Father Divine in this atmosphere said, I am God. Or put another way, I am the manifestation of God in this time and for this time. Daddy Grace, founding the United House of Prayer for all people, also proclaimed himself God, or a manifestation of God. Each of them said that a prophecy or a vision from God was brought to them. Noble Drew Ali in the Moorish Science Temple. This is where they redefine who Black people are, who man is. The Moorish Science Temple proclaimed in ways that the Nation of Islam would, that we are neither Negroes nor Americans. We are Moors and descendants of the great Moorish empires of the past. Again, very important, because such an identity and such a definition challenges everything at the very essence of the white narrative. That Black people had no civilization, Black people had no history, that whatever Black people were was because of white people. Noble Drew Ali out of North Carolina, whose name is Timothy Drew. He took on the name Noble. He is a nobleman. Prophet Frank Cherry said that we are the original descendants of the Hebrews. This flips the whole interpretation of the Old Testament, because he gives a contemporary identity to the prophets and people of the Old Testament. And he says that genetically, we are genetically more similar to the original Hebrews than the white Jews are. Turns out he's right. Again, coming out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, he said the white man is inherently evil. And then he added again, and hated by God. The ultimate condemnation of whiteness. Not just that you're white and evil, but you're hated by God. Just think about what that means. Again, this is revolutionary. You know, revolutionary, again, I will say, is defined by the questions you ask, by the philosophy that you adopt and your worldview. You can't be a revolutionary just because you're angry. That ain't gonna get it. You have to go deeper. There has to be a deeper understanding. Finally, there's Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. Elijah Muhammad must have known, and certainly he did know, of Father Divine, Daddy Grace, Noble Drew Ali, probably Prophet Cherry. All of them are so similar. Prophet Cherry says, we are descendants of the original Hebrews. In fact, it's very interesting. You know, Prophet Cherry's church just recently got out of the Old Testament. They didn't even read the New Testament all these years. And in the last few years, they started reading the New Testament. But they were so anchored to the Old Testament and the Hebrews, the Hebrew Israelites, that's where they were theologically. But we were not Christians, we were Hebrews. Noble Drew Ali, we were Moors. Father Divine, the New Jerusalem was in this time. That humans could live forever. That a new Jerusalem, a new human being, a new man and woman was possible. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, your natural religion is Islam. Orthodox and Sunni Muslims up to this day challenge whether or not the Nation of Islam is legitimate Islam. For example, scholars at Al-Azhar in Egypt and scholars and imams from Saudi Arabia and other places who didn't know very much about our situation, if they knew anything, said that that's not Islam because you have racialized Islam. To which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad would claim, how do you not see race when our oppression is based on our race? He would go further. Once again, redefining man and black men and women. That we are Asiatic black men and women. He would argue that Africa is an identity of a continent given by white people for slavery and colonialist purposes. That prior to the white man, it was all Asia. Again, like Frank Cherry, Prophet Cherry, The white man was an invention 6,000 years ago, and his time is up. Well, they're right about that. Whiteness is an identity. It is manufactured. Baldwin makes his point very clear. He said, I've never seen a white man, so I don't know what y'all are talking about. You know, it's a fake identity for the sake of y'all having the right to brutalize Black people. Well, the relevance of all of this for the now time. As I've said, and I don't know that I've made my point clear enough, I hope that I have. These were revolutionaries in the most fundamental sense. The tradition that they began is still a revolutionary tradition. I'm glad when they introduced me, they didn't tell everything about me. But right. But you don't know all about me either. I mean, like sometimes I say back in my days, and I have to say, what part of my days? But I've always been a revolutionary. Since I was a teenager, I never wanted to be anything else. I really haven't. And for me, that's not a bragging thing. It's just, I never wanted to be anything but a revolutionary. I always felt that Black freedom could only come about as a result of a revolutionary struggle, by which I mean not a few so-called revolutionaries seizing the moment. It would be the people. My revolutionary concept is really very much formed by Martin Luther King, whom I also believe is a great revolutionary, profoundly misunderstood, who, to find the ground for his theology, had to reject Western theology, and he had studied it very deeply, and go to India, Gandhi, and Tagore. But others had been there, as I said, Howard and Sue Bailey Thurman, Mordecai Johnson, the president of Howard University. And that's very interesting. The search for truth outside of the framework of the white man. But that's what I came up in. That's what I believed in. I believe in up to this day. I have experimented, I guess you could call it experimentation, with various movements and ideologies. And, if y'all want to do the research, going to jail, being accused of all kind of different things, losing jobs, but always believing in people. And even, when a lot of people didn't believe in me, I still believed in people. And somehow, some young people found their way to me, and some older people, by the way. But it is this search for what revolution looks like in the 21st century, and my acknowledgement that there cannot be a revolution in this country that is not at the same time a Black revolution. For all of these white people that think that whiteness can solve the problem. That white thing done played out. It done played out even for y'all. You understand? It done really, and you can see it. Trump is a manifestation of it. He's played out. White folk, and if you think there's a white answer to this crisis, you need to find a good psychiatrist. There is no white way out of this. For all of those people who are trying to be white or trying to find a compromise position with whiteness, you should know you're on a sinking ship. It's done played out. Just a small thing. A people that does not produce beauty or art or music, these great human creations, and say we're going to turn it all over to AI now, which is an admission that you've done. If you need AI to imagine the world and the future, you are already saying, I'm done as a human being. And the fact of the matter is, you are done. What is your option? You got to give up this white thing. And if you had any sense, you would say, my option is to become Black in one form or another. In other words, if you want a future, the only future for this country are Black folk. As difficult as this moment is for us, and we're not what we was 50 years ago. We've been hit hard. We've been hit hard. A lot of betrayals and sellouts. You know, a lot of betrayals and so a lot of young people, and this is so sad, children who are suffering from depression. When, you know, you expect joy and happiness for children.
Right.
Our music, our greatest music taken from us, like we were playing today. Luther Vandross, that's old school, that ain't relevant. Aretha Franklin ain't relevant. John Coltrane, Love Supreme ain't relevant. That framing of things already is a giving in to white supremacy. Performance as minstrelsy, I thought we defeated that 100 years ago. But what are y'all doing? But in spite of all of this, and I would say the betrayals of what goes for our leaders. Oh, by the way, one of the things about all these people I mentioned, they didn't let politicians in their religious institution. Keep them out. I believe in that deeply. Keep politicians out of the churches as politicians. Now, if you want to come as a member, that's cool.
Right.
But don't come up in here talking about vote for me and I set you free.
Right.
Because you ain't never did nothing and betrayed Black people. And I start here in Philadelphia. I lived here all my life. Black person can barely keep their house with the taxes.
Right.
And I want to know when an arena in Center City for the 76ers became more important than housing for the poor. I want to know what the agenda of these I think, well, you don't want me to start talking about no politics. I think, by the way, I think they are morally bankrupt.
Absolutely.
That will play on people, will act like they got some religion, some faith. No, they don't. No, they don't. And they need to stop trying to celebrate the birthday of Martin Luther King. You feel where I'm coming from.
Speak your mind.
You know what I'm saying? It's terrible. It's terrible. I've lived in this city all my life. Taxes ain't never been this high.
Amen. Amen.
Schools ain't never been this bad. Violence, they say murders is down to the lowest since 1966. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Because see, part of the thing is they want to tell you murder is down, but have you addressed the causes of the murder? No. So even if it is down, it's going to reappear again anyway. But I'll end on this 250th anniversary of the American Revolution. Very few Black people will be waving the American flag. And those that will be doing that, I don't know what's wrong with them. But the American Revolution must be celebrated not as looking backward, but its failures and how we move forward. The American nation is broken and divided. It is violent. After the killing of the young woman in Minneapolis, Minnesota, just this past week, a wanton murder. We're familiar with it. It's not shocking to us. You put the pistol in the window and just shoot and keep shooting. Oh, my life was in danger. We've heard that all the time. Murder Trayvon Martin. Oh, I felt that my life was in danger. Michael Brown. Oh, my life was in danger. Everybody's life is in danger when a cop kills you. But the thing is that they killed her. Trump. Matter of fact, I think the man done lost his mind completely.
Yeah.
And his vice president, they all came out saying that it was justifiable homicide. But the country will divide, it will become more violent. There are young people, and I don't endorse it, who think that the path to revolutionary change is individual acts of murder and violence. There was a young man a couple years ago named Luigi Maggioni, who went to the University of Pennsylvania. And a protest against the pharmaceutical company saw a pharmaceutical executive and took his life. And has not yet apologized, and I don't think he will apologize. He saw it as a revolutionary act. There's going to be more of that. Nobody is safe in high-profile positions. The killing of Charlie Kirk, who himself was a white supremacist. I don't have it. It's no great outpouring on my part. He's a white supremacist. He was against Black people. But a person who was a follower of something like what he represents, we are told, took his life. So the nation will celebrate 250 years. Philadelphia will be a central place of this celebration. And we must speak to the nation and the world in our voices. And I think our voice at this time must, one, be based upon the intellectual and theological history of us. We cannot speak through the voice of others. I don't think this is the time for compromise with the American nation and with white America. white America must either come to our side or shut up. We must speak boldly and confidently as Black people and freedom fighters. This is a time for the future. We must prepare for the future, if not for ourselves, for our children and grandchildren. Never has it been so difficult to raise children in any society as in this one.
Oh, my Lord. So true. So true.
Parents, young parents are exhausted because they must defend their children and protect their children against a culture and a society that is anti-child. I guess I'm just always drawn back to the question of good and evil, truth and beauty. And was Frank Cherry wrong? Was the Honorable Elijah Muhammad wrong? At least to raise the question. And I think it's more a question for white people to answer. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? If we claim the white man is the devil, don't ask me why. Do some self-reflection of why. But anyway, I'll stop there. Thanks a lot. And thank you to Mother Bethel.
I'm certain we could do better than that. Some key takeaways. Some key takeaways is that it's about humanity, right? It's really about humanity. And it's ideal that we should be continuing talking about Black history specifically in our communities, in our schools as much as we can, because that suffering it really is about teaching critical thinking and how to solve the problems that we had faced at that time. So I think, again, I want to thank you so much. We are going to take a short break at this time so that people can utilize the restrooms, rest, and then we'll come back to do like a quick question and answer session, okay? All right, thank you so much. One last thing, there is a iPad coming around to capture attendance. So please, when you get the iPad, put your name and your information, your contact information, your email address, and anybody from the Freedom School, just come on over here. You don't have to enter your information. We have it, and just check in with me so I can record your attendance. Okay? Thank you.
Well, no, she said, do this, and then also go to her and let her know you attended today's class.
Oh, see?
Excellent, right? Excellent. Getting ready to cram. Pulled it off. I like the way it was framed. I like the way you put the message. Oh, no. And you put in. Revolution. Oh, yeah. I really appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
And we want to be respectful of your time today. And number one, we want to make sure we say thank you for coming out. We did want to introduce again our freedom schools and the information about our free schools and the freedom schools so that you know about it if you want to become a part of this. Again, we ask that you put your contact information. If you are a guest, you have not been here today, if you could put it on in the iPad, and we want to share that information amongst each other. So please make sure you give us your contact information. And then finally, we're going to give Tony a few minutes or so just to answer a few questions or outstanding questions. We can't take a lot. We'll try. Okay. So you want to go ahead and introduce?
So, one part of today's discussion is hosted by the Saturday Free School for Philosophy and Black Liberation. And we meet here every Saturday at this church, the Church of the Crucifixion, at 10 a.m. to around 2:30 p.m. Every Saturday, hence the name Saturday Free School. And so we don't have a set curriculum. Sometimes we read together, but most of the time we're talking in this way. We're having this exchange of ideas. We're responding to what's happening in the world, but we're also exploring definitely the ideas that Tony talked about today. And so everyone's welcome to participate in the Saturday Free School here every Saturday at 10 a.m.
But most importantly, our discussions are about the fight for the future.
Yeah.
For us, we feel deeply responsible in together fighting for the future because we believe there is a human future, a common future to be fought for. And too often, when we talk about the past, it's just about the past. But for us, we're interested in knowledge, revolutionary institutions to take responsibility for this country because someone needs to. And so that's like, for us, we really believe in a fight for the future, especially young people fighting for the future. And it takes all of us. And we would really like to invite you, if you're interested, to come back. You know the space now, every Saturday at 10 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for speaking on behalf of Asylum, we were just saying that our position is to be a resource to the community. We want to be able to provide the history. That's why we are partnering with Mother Bethel so that we can establish curriculum, establish partnerships so that the information can go out to the local community as well as the global community. So we are acting as a resource. We're here to get that information. And again, we want to make sure that you are invited to the things that we're doing at the Freedom School. Even though our session was, our Freedom School was marketed to be 10 weeks, we want you to know that we have seen the impact of this. This has been so powerful that we know that we need to do more. And that we are establishing partnerships, following up with grants to see if we can be able to provide this more often. That's why it's so important for you to stay connected. And then again, we have some upcoming events that we would love to invite you all to. I've talked about the closing ceremony already at Mother Bethel. That event is on the 24th. I'll say that because I have a whole bunch of other events. We have an open house for the Association of Asylum, and that's going to be on Sunday, the following day, which is the 25th, January the 25th. We also have an event coming up at the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. We have Evelyn Higginbotham, who is a well-known historian in the history community, and she'll be at the Historical Society of Pennsylvania on February the 23rd. So I just want to make sure you invite it. Well, pardon me if I had the date wrong. It's either the 22nd or 23rd, but it is on a Sunday. Okay, just be clear.
All of that information, what site is that on?
Which one?
This got the closing.
We're going to, if you establish and you put your information today, we will get that information out to you. That's why I said it's so important for you to sign in and your contact information, because all this information will be provided for you in a consecutive email as long as we have your contact information.
And hi, everyone. I'm Trina Gary. I'm a member of Mother Bethel, and I'm so thankful for the Freedom School, for Asala and their work with Mother Bethel to bring this on. But on behalf of Mother Bethel, I'll say that our Reverend Carolyn Cavanis has been such a force in bringing about programming at our church and events at our church that are, there she is. Community, and one of the things that she speaks often of, and she can speak for herself in a moment, one of the things she speaks often of is the the importance of us telling our own story. And so that has really informed all that we're doing and our museum and the programming that we have coming up. So I'll encourage you to check out our website. And without further ado, this is our Reverend Carolyn Cavett.
All right, well, Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
So esteemedly, sorry, I missed that, you and I talked. But we have an immense debt of gratitude to God. And we just thank you for being a father of fathers. And so we just want a father of fathers, like the way that you nurture and you cultivate and you ground, and you also help us in speaking truth to power and helping us to also think critically and to think deeper, but also to be able to bring together so many of us with so many backgrounds says a lot about you. It says a lot about this movement as we move towards, not move to it in the work of knowing our history, knowing our story, but also the responsibility that we have to carry. So let's give it up to God. We are at our, this is class number 8. So we're almost at the end of this first journey, but we're going to continue this journey. And we hope that we'll be able to get to partner with Saturday Freedom School and Doc's team. This has meant a lot to us here at Mother Bethel and beyond. And one of the pieces, so we also know that, Doc, that you are a Du Boisian scholar, and you're with everyone today, the souls of Black folk. And we also have the narrative life of Frederick Douglass.
Right.
So one of the pieces is, yes, that we are sharing, we're hearing, but also to add to our libraries and to, these are just important works that should be in our reach, right? And we should be able to hold and have. And research still shows that much as we're moving into a digital age, people still like to read books.
Yeah.
I want to thank our soccer team and Karen and Sister Tina. What else do you want to say? Oh, question and answers. We'll see this Q&A. Also, you see the flyer for our closing ceremony. So we're going to have with us Michael Cord and Ronaldo Anderson around Afrofuturism. So thinking into the next stratosphere. Everyone is welcome.
You from Newark. This is the kind of he's from Newark too. I just told a friend of mine came because he was
If you have a question or a comment in response to Doc's lecture or just please stand up and project your voice.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Dr. Monteiro, I just want to say thank you so much for all the information that you gave today. My question is to you. You talk about your past and your before days. In that you spoke about how you knew that you were a revolutionary. What brought you to knowing that? Was it just something within you that just said, I can't put a name to it, but I know where I'm becoming? Or did you see other people doing it, heard that that was the name of a revolutionary, and you said, okay, I know I have that in me. Let me move more forward and learn about how to become more of a revolutionary. So that's the question I want to pose to you.
And my quick answer is I don't quite know all of it. You know, of course, my mother, my family, my church. Then going to Lincoln University. Then the time that I came up in.
Right.
I wasn't always kind of able to speak. I was kind of shy and so on. But I was so impressed with the young people of the civil rights movement. And just the idea that they would be in Mississippi. And I remember I told this story. Somehow this girl came, she became the secretary of one of my favorite professors. And she was so pretty and so courageous. I remember she invited me over to her house, I think to have tea or coffee. And I couldn't say anything. I was just in such awe. And the same with Diane Nash. So and then, it wasn't difficult. Oh, yes. It was not difficult for me to get on this path, or frankly, I don't know why other people, let's say of my generation, have not remained true to what they said they was about as younger men or women. I don't understand it. Because to me, the revolutionary imperative is the moral imperative. I don't think you can be a moral human being and be non-revolutionary. If you are moral, you have to want to change this reality. And of course, then, I'm a grandfather. And
That's different.
if for no other, I'll end it on this. For me, to be running home, well, I got to turn on for the Eagles. I can't get into that all this professional sport. And I do like boxing, but that's another question. But all of these distractions get on my nerves, and I don't understand grown people who still want to be distracted. Why not? Why not stay the course? Why not stand up? That's why I talked about these people like, Daddy Grace, Father Divine, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it's just so striking for me, and I'll just say it again. If they could stand up the way they did in the 1930s, and, for Frank Cherry, Prophet Cherry, to say the white man is the devil and hated by God, that's a bold statement, but it's a statement that is anchoring. And so, that's the only way I could see it, Now, but that's what I would say.
All right. Well, thank you for answering the question. I
hope
appreciate
I didn't
it.
answer all that.
It's okay. You spoke from your heart. That's all. Thank you.
I have a question. I want to know, I think as we all have responsibility, how can we reach the young people? Because they need to be involved. So does anybody have any suggestions?
I could say this, John, that is the question of questions. You know what I'm saying? And the question is, where are young Black people? What's happening at historically Black colleges and universities? What is going on in these various departments? Now, I have certain ideas or theories, but that is the question of questions. Where are young Black people? And have they abandoned the struggle for other things?
I believe this young sister, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trina, and then Sister Sally. I believe like this young sister here, she has her little ones here. I believe that it has to start from birth, from a really young age. It has to be community-based. And because there's so many distractions, like you said, and they get into hobbies and different things and just life. I think that it needs to start from a really young age. It needs to be foundational. So,
That's
a great point. I think also, for those who are in the church, so I wasn't a childhood church goer, but I know, as at places like, places like Mother Bethel, where there are youth programs, there's the program for youth. And then one of the things that we're doing even is, for Martin Luther King Day, there are activities for young people, but we're also doing a career fair, right? So how many of our young people are looking to be sports stars or social media influencers? Because they don't know that Black people like them are chemical engineers, are mechanical engineers. They don't know what Black people can do. They don't know that, what a chemical engineer can do. They don't know who designs the nuclear plant that delivers the power to run, they don't know who designs the equipment. So I think one of the ways that we reach Black youth is by reaching out to them, finding different ways to reach out to them. And I do, if it's okay, I'd like to put in a plug for the career day happening at Mother Bethel on MLK Day. So if you have a non-traditional career where we need more Black people, please consider coming, volunteering to share your story with children. And if you have children or you know children, please feel free to bring them through so that they can learn.
Brother David, did you want
I'll just respond to the questions and also ask.
Speak up, David.
I wanted to respond to the question and also ask the question so you can respond better than myself. When the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that the original man is the Asiatic Black, that we make the civilization on the land, the man is the best God's creation, and that we're connected. That was 1930, right? So at that particular time, the raging debate in America, whether science and education could merge in the idea of naming all monkeys, natural selection, and also with race and Christianity, which is teaching that Adam and Eve were the first people on earth, and that the white race was supreme, right, by nature. It's a lot. Talk to us later. But when we taught us that God, first man of Black, it shattered the present consciousness, right, which forced us to have to find something. My question, when I listen to culture, this is 19, when you listen to what came out of the Harlem Renaissance, Black expression, the world is all in love with our quest, self-identity. Everything we've always been taught about ourselves, but the only people that don't know who we are, where we come, right? Sing it, write it, express it, paint it, right? But in that is a man and woman who are trying to find us. And it's only because the present system was never able to tell us. So my question is, everything that you mentioned, all the leaders that we were talking about, how do you think the knowledge of self and knowledge of God affected our culture and what we have produced? Because I think if we want the young people to come, we have to reconnect them to a culture that is self-expression, that's really embedded and not sport and play. Because the culture.
Say that one more time, please.
Not connected to sport and play, connected to
culture.
culture.
Oh, yes, the culture, yes, yes.
How do you think the knowledge of God is self?
How do I recognize?
How do you think that the knowledge of God, the knowledge of self being expressed by us has affected our culture?
I think, just quickly, that's why I tried to say what these movements represented. They were asking the proper questions. And that was, who is God and who is man? Which is also, who is the white man? And I think what made them so revolutionary is that they asked the question and never stopped asking the question and answered the question. And that's what I tried to show with the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, with Father Divine, and see this claim, I would say, I think it's very relevant. I think in most instances, too many churches have focused on entertainment rather than truth. And so there's not the political and ideological education of the membership. But I think, David, I think like this. The question of who is man and who is God is a question that has to continually be asked. But the other thing, you know, when Father Divine said, I am God. And, well, who is to say he's not? Or when the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said God came to him. I think these are significant claims. There's no living white man that I know of that can say God came to him. You understand? It's all settled. All these questions are settled for the white world because the God of the white world is the God of white supremacy. So you don't have to ask any questions. You don't want to ask a question. Because if you ask too many questions, you might upset the apple cart. I think, and I know that, you know, we did an interview, the Free School, we did an interview, which I highly recommend to everybody, with Ishmael Muhammad, who, you know, is a major figure, maybe the successor to Minister Farrakhan. I highly recommend that interview. It's entitled, Man is Divine. And, you know, I'm just very impressed with Brother Ishmael Muhammad. Very impressed. He is one of the sons of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Mother Tynetta Muhammad. And among the things that he said was, you know, he was talking about the theology. It's more than theology, I would say. Theology is something hereafter, but it was more the moral grounding of the Nation of Islam and its argument about Black people. And this idea that man is divine, you get it in Father Divine. Man is divine. The hereafter is realized here, not after.
I have to die to get there.
No,
I have to die to experience.
no. So it is revolutionary to change the world. And the other thing is, because we are predisposed as, quote, revolutionaries in our youth, that religion is the opiate of the people. Well, that's white religion.
Right.
And it is the opiate of the people. And I think, and that's what I tried to say here. I tried to, some things I missed out. I didn't get it straight. These questions, see, the way you answer the question, who is man, has a lot to do with the way you answer the question, who is God? And then once you ask the question of who is man, then the next question is, who is the white man? That question has to be answered. We can't tiptoe around this all the time. You know, we're all praying to the same God. No, we're not. We ain't praying to the same God. If that were the case, why is Sunday the most segregated time? In fact, how many of us want to go to a white church? Well, maybe some people. I know a friend of mine went to I'm trying to say, well, dog, you done abandoned all your beliefs. He said, because I was in love with my wife. Well, I won't get into all the details. I'm saying, man, shoot, ain't that much love in the world. The love of your wife meant that you had to adopt a theology which hates Black people. Are you comfortable with that? Yeah. So he was in one of them churches where they, you know, them white churches where they support the Israeli genocide of the Palestinians. But anyway, I say all of that. A question, and this is the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, it's Frank Cherry, it's all of them. That's why I say this constituted a revolutionary movement that made all other revolutions of Black people that came after that possible?
And then let me push it.
Say that again.
And I'm gonna push it
Go
further.
ahead, push it. Go ahead, push it.
All of them come with long-standing institutions.
Well, that's the thing.
They birthed something.
That's right.
So when you look at some of the richest Black-led institutions, you're looking at Father Divine, just by real estate.
Yes.
Right? Which outweighs, so, in my training, they would call these movements, movements of the margins.
Yeah. So the margin.
That's what they call movements of the margins. But you look at how from this genius to be able to birth institutions that if you go on 125th Street, you cannot walk over Daddy Gray's spot. All right. Father Divine, the fact that he is in the estate is in Gladwin.
Yes.
Right? I mean, about what, 20 acres?
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the Divine Hotel, which you still we can't figure out what to do with it. Really, you know what I mean? It's been sitting there abandoned, and they went and made it a hotel, they made it apartments. I mean, so to think about.
Now they're selling whiskey and
Correct. But the genius that comes out of, so to be able to birth a system, because the system, so you create your own, which sustains your own, right? Because you look at what are the terms of agreement, which about how you hold all things in common, right? The co-op idea, being comprehensive, how we look across to the left, man, neighbor, and the commitment to the poor.
But Reverend Cabanez, and I'm so glad you're here. I want to ask you a question, if I might.
Jeez.
Because I know you were educated at Union Theological Seminary, and I know, King at Crozier, which is kind of a similar pedagogy and theology. But then you have these movements that we mentioned, where, for instance, Father Divine said he was God. Elijah Muhammad said God came to him. Daddy Gray said he was God. How would you, as a theologian and as a pastor, relate to those claims?
Sure. So the way in which my training, even before going into theological, was trained not in a hierarchy. You have to read across. Okay. Contextualization, comprehensive. It works from a circle. All right. So when I think about when I was educated, even my high school level, I had to take Latin and had to take a modern language, because the idea was if you understand the root, no matter what comes your way. And then I was Catholic school. That makes it even worse. Because you learn meat and potatoes, because you don't know what's going to come ahead of you. And you need to be able to dissect it and be able to make sense of it, which also then relates to how I relate in the world. So and I also have taken the position that everyone is in search for God. And the challenge for me, so I did a lot of study on grace and divine, because to me, it said to me, if the mainline Black institution, and I'm fourth generation, all I know is AMEism, okay? And the Baptist people fed my father. Something's missing. If women would work all day, put on their white, and give all the hard-earned money, but not take it to a mainline Black church, but take it to Daddy Grace, take it to Father, and could see the benefit, the building of institutions. Whereas I'm sitting now in a mainline place where we have institutions, in order to survive, we have to sell them, right? And so I look at them from a circle that, this whole thing, if they're on the margin, no, they're not. People found God there. People found hope there. Young people, you look at some of the best trombone players come out of the house of prayer, right? I mean, that the fact that if I want something to eat, I go to 12th and Poplar, because I know that's some good food in that basement. And I know if I go to Detroit, if I go to New York City, okay, that there's a kitchen there with real soul food, cafeteria, and it don't cost a lot of money. Right? So how do that they are not minor movement, just like we say minor prophets and major prophets, just because I don't say a whole lot, I might have a lot to say. That's why I'm listening.
because you're the one that don't say much,
That's right.
right? All this babble, babble. No. You speak one chapter. I need to listen to every word you're saying. And so to me, that's how, because people are in search, just like in regular life, people are paying offering and tithes and they're playing lotto. I got out of an Uber yesterday morning. The woman said, your number on your door is 1889, Reverend. She said, you know, something like that came out in the pick 4. Right? We burn candles. Right? How the colors that we wear, the scars that we wear, we're reading a little this, a little that, who we're tuning into, we're all in this search of purpose and meaning and God. And that there's now, I'm unadulterated about who I believe God is and how he begets himself to Jesus. But that's where, so I think they should not be put to, so I appreciate you're bringing these names, especially when I think about Blackfield, that these institutions are standing, even though their leaders are not, you know, their words, they have a lot to speak for, and that they deserve, you know, to be given the same level of, yes, I'm an Allenite, Richard Allen is, you know, I'm in his succession, but how could Daddy Grace be too put in that kind of, you know what I mean? Or Father, I mean, I think that's important. So I don't know if that answers what you wanted.
We're gonna talk more about it. But I did answer some, you know, but, let other people.
Certainly.
I just wanted to ask if you have, you had mentioned in one of your other lectures, you had people that are experts in fields like computer science. I was wondering if you would have a lecture on the effects of artificial intelligence on the working class in different cities like Philadelphia or maybe in Detroit or whatever, how robotics and artificial intelligence are going to make a lot of people sort of expendable in the economy. And then you had mentioned about the scientific dialectic of Marxism taking over the conversation, where people get out of religion completely and just get into class struggle. And I think that's about to occur. So I was wondering if you would have someone who knows a lot about computer science to talk about how these things are about to come about, because I was told that the timeline now is that they're about to implement AI into the workplace in the next 5 years.
It's in the school already. It's already in the school. The students are already using it.
No, but I think he's asking another kind of question. He's asking science and technology's impact upon society and upon the working people.
Right.
And, you know, one thing, just from a philosophical and ideological point of view, they're hyping this AI thing up because they don't have anything else. That's all they got. Now, will it become what they say it will become? I doubt it. But it's a desperate attempt. But like so much else in the hands of the white man, it's more destructive than creative. You say, well, they got it in the school. Well, hold on, wait a minute. See, yeah, they got it in the schools. You know, it's just like most students use it the way I use it, like Google. You know, looking up information and stuff like that. But I think what we talked about here is still the central question and the alternative. Who is man? And what is the human project? This is what we have to talk about. I'm not in no Silicon Valley. I don't want to be in no Silicon Valley. And they lying about what they say they got. I don't think they got it all. And then again, I don't think they can implement it because you need these huge data centers.
And the ecological, what it's doing to Black communities.
Yeah, well, and but see the thing, I think, let me put it this way. The right questions have to be asked. And AI is a whole thing that we're going to have to talk about and get a handle on it and not talk about it as an inevitability and so on and so forth. It's all they got. It is all they got. Technology has never, I don't think, been the answer to the human questions.
Can I just add that I believe that what's going to happen is that it is wiping away what we talked about earlier, this critical thinking piece that people don't do, and so it takes away creativity.
Well, no. Let me say this. It wipes it away if we are passive in the face of it.
That's right.
See, that's why I'm not a technological determinist. I'm not, when they come out with AI and, the billion, hey, come on. It's just another group of white men making claims about the future. Critical thinking. We become uncritical thinkers to the extent that we allow ourselves to be. If we say like we're saying here today, we're going to interrogate this. We're going to get deep on this thing. So I hate to put it, see, I'm so much against the white narrative of what they say. They say it will do this. They say this. They say a lot of things. But I've got an agenda too. And I'm not, that sound like money. I ain't fearing no man. My eyes have seen the glory. And I'm not.
I'm gonna just say that.
Okay, go ahead.
And it's conversations that, with respect to the AI, I do think that when we look at what's happening, and I completely agree that we've got to do our homework, we've got to do our research, it is here in very real ways. And I believe that it is the context for going into wars, all the kinds of things.
It is a context for what?
For war. For war. And it is the money that can be made from the chips, from acquiring the land that's needed to produce the water, generate the water that they need to make the chips. All of this is all part of some construct, not for our discussion about what is man. It's what is man can do and what is man doing now to impact where we are and how we live. The other comment I had was related to this young people. And I think there's this narrative that young people are not engaged, and that Black young people, youth, are not engaged. And I want to push back on that narrative a bit because I think there is a question that I've been asking is, how do we know how and where they're engaged? What are they engaged in? I speak to young people, and they are following different people on Instagram, on TikTok, on different sites because there's a growth of trust in our media. And so my thinking is there a way we can really tap into who are they listening to? What messages are being shared through that medium? And then how can we sort of engage where they are? And that's just a thought with respect to young people. Like, so I do think that there's a lot happening in that community. And there is some activism. It's just not the activism that we've probably been accustomed to seeing and knowing.
Okay, we have to meet them where they are.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we run out of time for question and answers. And we can, I'm sure, Tony, are you available to stick around for a few more questions?
Yeah, we usually stick around. We can stick around for later. I know that the official discussion is coming to a close.
And the other thing is, I put together a playlist and we can listen to some really yeah, cultural expression.
Can we borrow you for a quick second?
We're gonna take a picture.
Well, we're gonna close out, so again, let's give it up for Doc.
To 2. Wow.
Sometimes 2:30.
2:30. Okay. Well, I'm here next week. Solid Freedom School. We will be at Zion Baptist Church. So that is the home of Reverend Dr. Leon Sullivan.
That's what we said that we were talking about.
And so we'll be doing civil rights, and we have a little sweet honey in the rock. And then we're going to have a panel really deeping, going into the legacy of Leon Sullivan. Right? And then the week after, we gave out the flyers. So again, thank you, everyone, and let's hear these tunes and continue the conversation. I know there's a little more beverage back there.
Yeah,
Anything else?
yeah.
All right, all right. Maybe 15.
All right, I'll look it up. Go ahead.
No,
I gotta see where my Bethel, my email.
Yeah. Yeah. For us, we think the American we really be.
Oh, she paid for our flight. Oh, no, for our flight. Yeah. Oh, I'm good. Yeah. It's that. I think that's. Hi, Jackie. All right, let me.
I didn't have a they never gave up a person that I do to even think that, you know, for my whole life, I was I never hear of it. I just think so instead, further my back, really praise God, God, and there with my only until I discovered the Black freedom and especially God that this is I don't believe in fact there's
meaning white folks. Why do you want to see white folks? It means why? We raise children. That conditions human beings to be here. And watching a lot of most importantly, ourselves that but it's more yeah, we've been really passionate about the university of the I'll just say this about the union and a lot of the members of the union say it's not really tough job. I love my mother. I don't think I was given all the love. I don't have to be the person of peace, like never. It just gave me the model I needed to just become who I was. And I think about all the we've done science with technology. But why is that second thing? Maybe because black people we don't feel like we're adopted. If no one has ever given black people the things that really black people were real, honestly, if I didn't have this framework, if I didn't know this history, black history, I think I would I would I don't think I would have learned love. I don't think I would have it's an exercise. I'm sure many young people have the level of professionalism. I don't think it's just 5 months. I think it's a lot of inability to love yourself because we have a society that has trained us to not love being in when people And maybe this is because I do think this way to see Asian Black history. And I really believe last week we talked showed us the video of that young and he said this to us that every American they should be able to because why is it that we're not working injustice? And it's because we're made to with lots of it's inevitable. Yeah. Yeah. And we have your email. We want to particular you'll receive the notification where we talk people. You talk people in the topics of the book based on what's going on in the world. We'll call it you guys are talking about migratory law, or like you guys are talking about migratory law. We'll be talking about specifically how to actually I'm really glad Wait, yeah.